Let's talk about balance. The foundation of all sports that are played well is balance. There's two types of balance. There's a balance called dynamic balance, which is the balance of staying in balance while you are in motion. And there's static balance. Now, static balance is being able to stay still and not move at all. But normally if you're in static balance, you lock yourself into a position where if you have to move, you then have to move to a different balance point to be able to start moving. An example of that is if I was in static balance, I'm going to sit back on my heels like this, so I can stay still here as long as I need to. But if I want to move, which means I'm moving into a dynamic or movement motion, I'm going to move my weight forward, put some pressure down into the ground so that I can then move. Now, what I've done is I've moved from my heels to a point somewhere more in the middle of my feet, even perhaps a fraction towards the balls of my feet, so I can move. So most dynamic balance is played in between the feet, through the middle of the feet, or slightly forward. Now, balance starts in the setup. So many golfers start with a poor setup from a balance point of view, and their instinct knows once they move into dynamic balance, they have to move to a different balance point, and in doing that, we see things like this. So the golfer who starts too much back on their heels in static balance, the first thing that happens when they start to swing the club back is their instinct knows they've got to move their weight forward, so we see them rocking forward. Now our eye says, oh, I'm too close to the ball, so we start to lift up this way, and what that really came about from was being in bad setup balance, or somebody too much out on their toes, maybe too much over on the left foot, so as soon as they swing, we don't want to fall forward, so what happens is our instinct finds dynamic balance again, and now I've lifted up and off the ball, and of course our friends, our playing partners, they say, oh, you're swaying, you're lifting, but most of that came about from not being in balance in the setup. Now, I've got two homemade devices here, very, very simple, just two pieces of wood just made out of MDF, and that's about, I guess 350 by about 700 or 800, and I've got a little 2 centimetre piece of wood just screwed in the middle. Now, one is screwed down across and one is lengthways. The one that's screwed down across, and this is only about 20 mil, about 2 centimetres. If it gets too much, we get too much movement. So the idea of that is I'm going to put that underneath here, and I've got myself a little rocking board so I can feel where my balance is. So what I'm trying to do, we're doing setup first of all here, is I'm trying to find the point where I'm not too much over on the left, I'm not too much over on the right. I'm trying to find that point where, okay, that's my balance point there. That's what it feels like to be 50-50 and in balance from left to right foot. Now, this one is from heel to toe. So if I'm too much back on my heels, it's sitting back this way, too much on my toes, sitting this way. So I'm going to spin this around. So typically we see a lot of golfers either too much forward on the toe of their left foot or too much back on their heels, where they might have heard the saying or the tip, sit on a bar stool. Well, you sit on a bar stool, that's static balance, then we try to move back into balance and we start moving around all over the place. So with this one, we're finding a balance between heels and toes, and it's quite hard to work this because it's putting us out of balance. So I'm activating the muscles in my feet and in my legs and right throughout my core that help stabilize and find correct balance. Then once I've got that correct balance, then I move away from that, set myself up. So basically we want to be about 50-50 left to right, and heel to toe we want to be balanced that way. Start in balance, and there's a good chance we're going to eliminate a lot of the bad moves that happen during the backswing and then the reaction to that in the downswing. Try that at home.